everyone and welcome to the Learning Ladder. I thought I'd do a different video today with regards to our curriculum, and I saw this video on Place to Nest channel. She was one of the first ladies that I watched for homeschooling way back in the day, when my little one was really little. And she's just been someone who I've really enjoyed watching as she has gone on through her homeschool journey. And she did a video on her channel which was something, I can't remember what the exact title was, but basically she was summing up all the curriculum that she's ever used, not every single thing, but the main things, the core curriculum over the years, and telling you what she liked about it, and if she didn't, what was that, and did she still use it and everything else. I thought it was a really interesting idea because, as you all know, we all post curriculum videos and we do reviews, but we don't necessarily always talk about everything and why we've switched it from one thing to another, if we have. Some people do, but not necessarily for everything. So I thought I would do my own version, because we have homeschooled from the beginning as well, which she had to with her second daughter. So we have done preschool, pre-K4, kindergarten, first grade, and we are now in second grade. So I do have quite a few curriculum things that we have used over the years, so I thought it'd be interesting to have a little chat about them. Okay, so if we start back way in the beginning, so I won't talk about preschool because we didn't use a ton of curriculum in preschool. It was mainly me doing lots of read alouds, reading to her, teaching her numbers, shapes, letter sounds, but I just did that in a very organic, natural way. I didn't use any kind of boxed curriculum or anything like that for preschool. We did tons of sensory boxes, sensory bins, tons of crafts. She has always enjoyed doing art, so that's something we really incorporated into it, and it was all very organic and natural. I don't know, natural sounds weird thing to say, but it was all very organic, and it wasn't a box curriculum or anything like that. I did teach her, as I said, her letters, letter sounds, and her numbers and shapes, all in preschool, so that by the time we got to pre-K4 she already knew them, which is why I get down to my point of what we used in pre-K4 for language arts. And we used Hooked on Phonics, and I did really like it, and she really enjoyed it. The level we did the age 3 to 4 level, which I thought would be fine for her because that was where she was at in terms of age, but it was too simple for her. She'd already learned her letter sounds. I know I'd already taught her letter sounds and her alphabet, and a lot of what they did in that level was that. However, I thought it would be helpful in terms of, because they concentrated a lot on writing, so actually writing the letters, which I thought, you can never have enough practice with that, so I was fine to continue with it. She really enjoyed it because it was fun, and it was something she was very comfortable with anyway. We did switch up to the K level within the same year, because we went through the first level super fast, so we did switch up to the K level, but I thought there was too much of a gap between the pre-K level and the K level, because she was still in pre-K4, and I wasn't overly fussed with it. I wasn't overly fond of it. There was nothing wrong with it particularly, but I just thought there was such a gap, and it wasn't very interactive. It was basically, on the page was a list of words they had to read, and that was it. In terms of the workbook and everything else, there was a few little games. There was much more games in the first level, so we didn't continue with it. There's nothing wrong with it, and I think it could work for a range of people, but I just didn't feel comfortable with it, so we stopped doing the Hooked on Phonics at the K level. We didn't continue with it after that point. We then switched to All About Reading in kindergarten, level 1, and I absolutely adore that program. I cannot recommend it enough. Obviously, teaching someone to read is a huge responsibility, and as someone who loves books, I wanted really to instill a love of learning, a love of reading in her, without it being such a chore and everything else that she eventually hated to read, because I would have been distraught. I would have been so sad if that would have been the case, because she's always loved books. So I always wanted a gentle reading curriculum that would encourage her, but also wouldn't kill her love of reading, because she's always loved books. And All About Reading does exactly that. So she's in kindergarten, I said then. She's in grade 2, so year 2, and she is a fantastic reader. And although she did know, I had already taught her alphabet, and I had already taught her letter sounds and to blend before we started level 1. I think we potentially could have skipped quite a bit of level 1, but I didn't want to do that, because I wanted to make sure that the way I feel about reading is that there should be some challenge, but there should also be quite a lot of on your level 2, so that you're not pushing them too hard, because if every single word is a struggle when you're reading a book, that is going to put you off completely. So I did continue through with level 1 to make sure that there was no gaps, and that she wasn't being pushed too far, because she was a young kindergartner. She was only 4 at the start of kindergarten. She turned 5 that year. So I wanted I wanted to make sure that she was being pushed, but also that and challenged, but not to the point where it completely put her off reading, so that there was elements of it that she was really comfortable with. And I thought level 1 really worked for that. We did start level 2 in kindergarten as well, towards the end, and then in 1st grade we finished level 2, and we also mostly finished level 3. We still got a few lessons left in level 3, and I have level 4 on my shelf ready to start with 3. I think I could have skipped level 3, because she's very comfortable with it. She is a very, very good reader, and I think potentially we could have gone on to level 4, but again, I don't want to miss any gaps. And I think it's also very important for spelling as well, because the way All About Reading works is obviously you learn about your vowel teams, your consonant teams, and everything else, and that is really important for spelling. So although she's really ahead in her reading, I would say, I think she's on track with her spelling, so on level with her spelling. And I think if I would have just skipped level 3 and gone straight to level 4, she would have missed those crucial spelling elements that would really help her as she's developing as an actual writer herself. So that's why we didn't switch. And also, in case there was something in there that she didn't know or that she wasn't quite sure of, All About Reading is a fantastic program. I cannot recommend it enough. As I said, it is such a responsibility to be able to teach someone to read, because it's a skill that we need. It's essential for life, but to have that enjoyment in it, it opens so many doors if you actually love to read, of what you can learn. Picking up a book and learning about something that you'd never even thought to do so, because you can read well and you can grow as a person through reading, open your eyes to so many different ideas, and it's just amazing to read. And I really wanted to make sure she loved to read, and she absolutely does. We have tons of books. It's something that's always been really important to me, and I cannot recommend All About Reading enough. It is a gentle approach, but you're getting everything in there that you need to. It's a very multi-sensory approach. So you've got your tiles, you've got your flashcards. They have beautiful stories, and I think the stories are absolutely fantastic. My daughter is always riveted to find out what happens in the books. The stories are very unique. They're not something you see in everyday reading book. They are fantastic and really engaging. If your kids like animals, you're sorted, because there's so many different little animal stories in there too. And then they have the workbook that goes along with it, which is very interactive. All the worksheets are so fun. There's all different manipulative with different animal pieces and all kinds of things. I have done reviews on All About Reading previously, and yes, I can't gush about it enough. It is fantastic, and I think it's the perfect program to teach your child to read in a creative and fun way that is not challenging to the point that they absolutely distraught and cannot read a single page because they're terrified. Very gentle, but it also does push them to pick up the new skills. And as I said, she has developed fantastically as a reader. I am just in awe when I see her pick up a book now, and I just think there isn't a better program out there. But that's my personal experience. Other than Hooked on Phonics, we haven't used anything else, but I wouldn't want to. And if I had further children, I would definitely be doing All About Reading with them too. Okay, so that was reading covered. Language arts, in general, we have used first language lessons for the well-trained mind, level 1, and now we're doing level 2. We also used Writing with Ease, level 1, which is from the same company. I really like their grammar program. I think it's an amazing way to teach grammar. It's very much a read aloud aspect, although they do have enrichment activities where your children can obviously do further activities along with it. We tend to use it as a read aloud mostly, but I do have other centres which I use for grammar, and I have done a video of them previously. We're using Fun Hands-on Learning's grammar centres as well, just to make it a bit more interactive too. And we also used the Moffat Girls Language Arts and Grammar set. We had the full one for level 1, and I did actually eventually buy the full level for level 2 as well, grade 2 too. Grade 2 too. I think they're a perfect match. They go so well together. You could use them by themselves, but I do think that they work perfectly together, and the three of them work amazingly together as well. We have also used, for language arts, Explode the Code, and I did purchase Plaidphonics. We have enjoyed Explode the Code. I think my daughter actually really likes it, and we are sticking with it. I haven't actually started Plaidphonics yet because she's going quite well through her Explode the Code, so I don't want to switch just because I thought Explode the Code looked a bit boring because it was black and white, but she seems to be grasping everything, so don't change something if it's working. I do have Plaidphonics, and there are aspects of, once we've finished the 2 levels of Explode the Code that we have, before I buy the next level, I will use aspects of Plaidphonics, because there are things in there that aren't in Explode the Code till quite later on. So we will still use Plaidphonics, but Explode the Code is working, and you can also use it for spelling as well, which is a subject I'm going to come to in a second, which is mainly what we do it for. It's not for phonics, because obviously she can read them. It's not to help with that, it's to actually help with her spelling. So really enjoy that. We've also used The Good and the Beautiful, language arts, and we really enjoy that. She loves the worksheets, they're very interactive. We are waiting for the new level 2 to come out, because I didn't want to start, I was originally going to start the old level 2, but I've decided to wait for the new level 2 because I was so impressed with how they revamped their level 1. I knew I would want to switch when the level 2 came. So what we've been doing in the meantime is just going through the new level 1 and just picking out worksheets that I think maybe perhaps you need a bit more practice on, because they have added new things into the level 1 that wasn't in the previous level 1. They've introduced a lot more spelling, so we've been using that. They've also introduced more writing as well into it too. Again, we've been using that. So that's why we haven't switched to the old level 2. We're waiting for the new level 2 to arrive, which hopefully won't be much longer. Once that does arrive, then we will switch over to that. But everything else that we're doing with language arts is more than enough, because, as I said, we're doing language arts through Torchlight. We also do Explode the Code. We're doing her All About Reading. We're doing our grammar programs. So everything is covered, and our spelling and writing. I'll get to that in a second. Everything is covered already, so it's not a big deal if The Good and Beautiful doesn't come out with their level 2 in time. Because that's an added extra, it's not essential. We're not using that as our main language arts program, but I really do want to see that new level 2, because I think the level 1 is really good. Spelling. So we have used All About Spelling from the beginning. All About Spelling level 1 was something we started, right, I'm in 1st grade, I want to say. No, it was in kindergarten. Towards the end of kindergarten, when we finished level 1 in All About Reading, we started level 1 in All About Spelling. She breezed through level 1 because it was really simple for her. It was all very consonant team, but and word families that she was really comfortable with, because she was a really good reader then. Obviously, level 1, breeze, no problems. Level 2, we went through it, but we went through it a lot more slower than level 1. Mainly because they did pick up a lot on the length of the words were much bigger, because in level 1 it was mainly 3-letter words, occasional 4-letter words, but in level 2 it did pick up quite a lot, considerably, in terms of the length of the words that they were spelling. The rules obviously a bit more in depth as well. So we have gone through level 2 slower, and I've also actually gone back through level 2 at the start of the year to review, to make sure that she is really comfortable with everything before we move on to level 3. I've got level 3 ready to go. I like All About Spelling, but I don't love All About Spelling. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it's a great curriculum, but I think All About Reading is on another level, and All About Spelling is really good, but I like the fact that it tallies very well. They go very mashed together very well with All About Reading, because it's for each level it's the same vowel groups, consonant teams and vowel teams and everything else that they've learnt for that particular level. So I really like that. The only thing I will say is there aren't any games or activities that go along with it, and I found that she would be past the spelling test, because it's not a test, but at the end of the week she could spell the words, but then a few weeks later it wasn't always the case. So I do think that you do have to do quite a lot of reinforcement with All About Spelling. So I have reintroduced my spelling box this year, which I'm really loving, and I'm adding in different things for our spelling program. I'm adding in elements from Spell and Write ever more. I'm adding in some specific skills that I wanted her to work on, and I've also added in the Moffat Girls Sight Words level grade 2 as well into our spelling box, just to beef out our spelling a bit, because I think All About Spelling is very comprehensive, but I just don't think there's enough practice in there. Will I purchase the next level of All About Spelling? I don't know. I've been looking at other options for All About Spelling that I might incorporate later on. I will be thinking more about that when I am purchasing my curriculum for next year. For handwriting, we've always used Handwriting Without Tears. We have always really enjoyed it. As she has grown with the program, she has developed her skills. She has much more stamina now than what she did earlier. Obviously, that's natural. You would expect that in terms of writing. I have really enjoyed it, using the program with her. I have no complaints whatsoever, and we don't have any plans to switch. She's still doing the level 2, it's grade 2 program, and then she'll move to cursive either towards the end of this year or next year. There is a Kickstart cursive book that follows the book that she's currently using. Obviously, she's writing a lot more in other programs as well now, not just in Handwriting Without Tears. So you obviously have to balance that out. But I have no issues with it. I think it's a great program, and I would recommend it. Writing with Ease was something we did in the 1st grade, and that is very Charlotte Mason inspired. Copywork, dictation. There's also narration. So we really, really enjoyed it. I was so torn whether to do level 2 this year, but because we were doing Torchlight as well, I thought it'd be too much. So we haven't done Writing with Ease level 2, and that's not to say that we won't do it in the future. We probably will do it at some point, but I decided not to do it this year, but we definitely did enjoy it. For maths, in preschool, we didn't do any maths curriculum. It was just me teaching her skills that I thought she would need to learn, so numbers, counting, shapes, everything else, all those kind of things. Then in pre-K4 we tried Singapore maths, and although it's very bright and colourful and everything else, I found it initially was too easy for her, but then it moved too fast for her, and it didn't spiral at all, which I didn't like at all, because by the time she mastered something, we moved on to the next thing, then there would be no reinforcement of what she'd already learned. So I knew I wasn't going to continue with Singapore. We switched to Saxon, and I have stayed with Saxon ever since. So we've done Saxon K, Saxon 1, and we're now doing Saxon 2. It's very black and white. I've mentioned that in a previous video, but the foundational skills there are excellent, and you can see how they build on one another. And I definitely think she has advanced in the program. She's on level as to where she should be and everything else. Do I wish it was more colourful and bright and everything else? Yes, of course I do. But the skills are there, and she is progressing well with it. So as a program, I would recommend it. It's very manipulative based, so you can use tons of manipulatives with it over the years. It's very practical as well. So for example, when they're doing measurement, they'll bring in some kind of baking into it, or food, chopping for fractions, so cutting things into halves and quarters and everything else, and it's real life. So it really helps them connect to the mathematical concept that they're using. So I would definitely recommend Saxon. It's incremental, so it is spiral and mastery, so it's a mix of the two. So you are reviewing skills that you have previously learned, which I really like, but you also aren't just doing the same thing the whole time. You are learning new skills in different areas. So I would definitely recommend Saxon. I did over the summer purchase the Good and the Beautiful level 1, just the second part of it to have a little practice over the summer with, before we switched to our Saxon level 2 level. I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was a lovely program, very bright, very colourful and everything else, and I was planning on considering purchasing the level 2 for this year, but we've been using Saxon, and I'm happy to, she seems fine with it, so at this point I haven't purchased the Good and Beautiful level 2, and that's not to say I never will, but I feel quite happy that we're progressing well with Saxon 2. So for right now, we are just sticking with our Saxon 2. I've incorporated other aspects into our year. So for example, measurement and money. Obviously we use different money, but that's fine because you can just use your own in those questions. And I also do have another text, which is a UK based maths curriculum for measurement and for money as well, that we can pull things from. We also really love the Usborne books. There are tons of Usborne activity books for maths. So there's time, there's addition and subtraction, multiplication, fractions, decimals, you name it. They've got an activity book for it, and they are so interactive and fun. So I feel like we're doing really well with maths. We're progressing as we should, and I would definitely consider Saxon. But obviously I can understand why people are put off with the nature of the fact that it's so black and white and everything else. This year, my daughter stuck stickers on every single page of her level 1, well, not level 1, but you know, the first textbook. And she is quite happy with that now. So during the school holidays, I got the book out and we just put some stickers on every single page of her first workbook. We haven't done the second yet because I wanted to see how she was with it, or you know, whether she actually enjoyed the stickers on there. She hasn't covered it, she's just put like 3 or 4 stickers on each page, and it's made all the difference. So you know, she's like, oh yes, I like that sticker on my page. So that's something to consider. And you can add your own colour to it, because a lot of the questions require you to colour a certain fraction of a shape or anything else. So it does get colour into the worksheet, but the kid is putting it in there themselves rather than it being all bright and colourful on the page. But as I said, that hasn't stopped her from learning. So I'm quite happy, and we're going to see how we go with Saxon. I know the system dramatically changes in 4. So 1, 2 and 3, K1, 2 and 3 are all very similar in terms of how they present it. In K, it does dramatically change and become more child-led, because they're having to read the questions themselves, as opposed to the teacher teaching the lesson and then doing the worksheet. So we'll have to see how that changes. But you know, I have no plans of switching at the moment. Science. We have always done elemental science. We did the pre-K level, we did the kindergarten level, we did the first grade level, and we're now doing the second grade level. So the first 2 levels are an introduction level, and then obviously once you get to first grade, you go through the, well, not obviously necessarily to you, but from first grade onwards, you go through the grammar series. So it's a very classical method of teaching science, and we have really enjoyed it. There are very vast amounts of books that you can add into it. You don't have to. She has set texts that are required. So there's an experiments book. There's also 1 to 2 different books for each theme. So for the animals, so for the biology one last year, you had an encyclopedia. You also had your experiment book. And then there was another book as well that went along with it. So those were your spine, I guess you could say, in terms of your text. But your spine is also your teacher's guide. So there's vocab in there. There's projects in there. There is poems to memorize about different parts of the body, for example, in the human body. There are colouring pages. There's lap booking options. There's notebooking options. There's experiment pages and experiments that you do along with the experiments book. We have always really enjoyed it. I haven't seen any other science programs necessarily that have grabbed my attention. There's a couple out there that, you know, I perhaps would consider looking at, but if it's working, you know, why change it? But you know, I'm open to look at new things for, you know, 3rd grade. Obviously I am always open to look at new curriculum, but I haven't had an issue with it. Obviously it can get pricey if you're wanting to purchase all the extra books, but she does have set texts that are crucial, but then the rest of it is all optional. You can get as many of the books as you want or not. If your library has them, you can get them from there, and they add to it. They're not essential, all the extra books that she has for each unit. But this year we are doing earth science and astronomy, so currently we are going through earth at the moment. Weather is our next one, I believe. And we have really enjoyed it. No complaints. Definitely recommend it. Okay, geography. We have used Beginning Geography by Evermore, which is a great book. Definitely recommend it. Great text. Very interactive and fun. Lots of different skills in there. Map reading, landforms. Fabulous book. We really enjoyed it. And we did a unit study which I created for her for each country that we visited. So we had our own little ticket, plane ticket. We looked at the social aspects of the country, and the people that live there. We used Material World and What the World Eats to get a real understanding about different cultures. We talked about weather and climate, so what kind of clothes they would wear, what they would pack, and I made her like a little suitcase where she could stick all the clothes onto, once she discovered what the climate was. We talked about attractions in the region, special features and everything else, and we really enjoyed it. And we also incorporated elements of other books into it. So for example, if there was a 5 in a row book that corresponded to that country, then we included that. I should talk about 5 in a row in a second as well, actually. That just reminded me. We have also used Skill Sharpener for geography, which is another Evermore product. We've used level 1 and we're now using level 2. Thoroughly enjoy those, definitely recommend them. We also use, what is that called? Maps, charts and graphs. We have used level A and we're now using level B. Again, great curriculum, definitely recommend them. For this year we've also added a landforms project of Teachers Pay Teachers, but I can't review that yet because we haven't used it yet. And we're also using Simply Charlotte Mason Guide to Europe as well, which we are really enjoying. We are also using Beautiful Feet books. And if you're thinking, how on earth can you use all these things? We do geography twice a week. The first day we do all sort of our foundational skills, so your map reading and all that kind of thing, and the second day is when we do our unit study stuff. So you can, by what I've said, you can probably fit it in into what days we do it, but obviously we don't do the unit study stuff all at the same time. So for example, if we are doing our Simply Charlotte Mason, we do that for a term, then we switch and we do our Beautiful Feet books, etc., if you see what I mean. So we also have Beautiful Feet books, which has been really fun. So it's country based, and we have done the England one first, so Great Britain. That was really fun. We loved reading all about Winnie the Pooh and how he began. That was really interesting. We also read The Right Word, which was about the thesaurus and the creation of that. And we also cooked a recipe, obviously. From there we talked about the map work, so different oceans and seas and everything that surrounded us, and we've really enjoyed it. So we've only done one unit from that so far, which was, as I said, the UK, but we have really enjoyed it, so it's one that I would recommend. So that's what we've done for geography. It hasn't, I wouldn't say we've changed curriculum, we've just gone through the different levels of curriculum. So we've used the beginning geography till the end because it was just one book. We finished that, then we moved on to the next one. So we haven't switched curriculum with geography. We've stayed the same in terms of our skills. So one day we've done our skill bases, second day we've done our unit study base. I've just changed what items we've used for those, but we have really enjoyed it. History, we did Story of the World. We've always done Story of the World. We have done The Ancient, which is volume 1, and now we're now doing the Middle Ages, which is volume 2. I love it. She loves it. We listened to the audio CD of the chapter to save my voice, because I do a lot of read alouds. And I really like listening to him. I'll read the text while he's talking, and it's very relaxing, and I've learned so much as well, things that perhaps you forget, and history is something that I've always loved. It's one of my favourite subjects. And you learn things that you perhaps maybe didn't cover in school, because I remember in school we only covered like select pieces of history, and this went through the whole ancient times, which was really insightful. And again, with the Middle Ages, I've been picking up on things. Oh, I don't remember that. Oh yeah, that's interesting to learn. So and that's one of the amazing things about homeschool, is that you learn things that perhaps you didn't learn in school, because obviously you're choosing the curriculum and everything else, as opposed to the school deciding what curriculum they wanted to use. And it is a great curriculum. It's very interactive. You can add as much to it as you want. You can just read the story and do the colouring page, or you can do the projects. We do the projects as well, and they have such amazing projects. I can't it's been so fun. Last year we made a Ming bowl, we made our own storybook. There were so many different things. We did a archaeological dig, all part of that curriculum. So I definitely recommend Story of the World. I mentioned 5 in a row. We did 5 in a row in K, so in kindergarten, but I still have a shelf up there with our 5 in a row books, and seasonally we'll still pick the books out. How to Make an Apple Pie and See the World we picked out in September, but we did 5 in a row in kindergarten, and if you don't know what 5 in a row is, it's a unit study approach, so you read the picture book and then you do activities based on that. Really enjoyed 5 in a row. We didn't continue with it after K, and that's not because I didn't want to or anything else. It was just because we had other subjects that I wanted to include instead, or other curriculum, I should say, not subjects, other curriculum that I wanted to include. We used obviously as part of our language arts curriculum in K. I would definitely recommend 5 in a row, and I do think you can do it with older children as well as younger ones, so you can do that mixing the ages, and it's cross-curricular obviously, because you're talking about different elements rather than, you know, just being language arts based. I think I've covered all the core curriculum that we have used and why we didn't like anything. I don't think I have necessarily switched curriculums very much at all, so this might not be that great for you or helpful because I haven't really explained why I've switched, if I have switched. Because we haven't really switched that much. Apart from maths, that was the only thing that I can say we definitely switched to a completely different curriculum. With everything else, it's been natural progression that we've needed to find something else. Either she's grew out of that level, they didn't have the next level up, or I wanted to do a different skill. But I hope that was interesting anyway. This is a super long video. I need to go back and watch the rest of the Place to Nest video to see if she included anything else I've not mentioned. But other than that, I hope that was interesting. If you've got any questions, let me know below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.